All right, I'm gonna show you how I did this top piece for my subframe connectors. It's gonna make it hopefully one frame. I took a piece of poster board, I laid it out flat. I already had this one made, so basically I had it on obviously a bigger piece, and I've cut these pieces out. So I laid it on here, and then I basically roll it up on its side like that. Then I trace around, obviously, then come back down real easily. Kind of mark my little areas here on the back, and then the same thing up on this side. Okay, so the thing is with this one is made for this side, so it's going to be just backwards from that. So when I make it like this, because this one's pretty much going to fit identical to the other side, what I had to do then, so basically I came in here like this, pulled it up, made sure everything was going to fit like it's supposed to. So I pulled these edges up. Here, let's try this side. So basically pulled that edge up and said, okay, that all looks right. Same thing on this side. And then I kind of just creased underneath here, just pushing up against it, making me some crease lines. Then I had to take it, flip it over, and use those same crease lines to come back over. Now what I did was basically, now you can see this is the opposite side, so that's what I wanted. So then I fitted this up, pressed down in the center to get a good fit. And then again, that's going to be just the opposite of the other side on each. Hopefully you're seeing that. I'm probably holding that up in the wrong spot, but anyway, that's just the opposite. So now I have this side done. I can take this template here and I can basically take this piece of steel here, lay it right over top of that, trace that exact dimension out, do more about like that, make sure it's flattened out and everything, trace that out. I'll probably use a silver Sharpie to make it a little bit fatter. That way I can grind down, because like everyone says, it's easier to take it off and put it back. So basically that's how that'll be. That'll be my angle that'll cut off, and that'll fit my frame rail. So let's go over and take a look at how the template fits. So you can see how this has this little edge here. Well, it doesn't on that side. That's why one side has to be that way, and the other side has to be this way. So basically you get an idea of how that fits in there. And so I've got these bolted in down tight. I'll have to cut this out like I did the other piece down there. My goal is, my plan here is to be able to weld these top pieces here in, okay, and then I will cut these tacks loose and drop this basically, and then this will be welded in permanently right here. So when I finish everything and come back and I decide I'm going to start tying in my subframe connectors, I can just put my subframe connectors in, put it right back up in here. I'll have it marked out exactly where that needs to go, and it'll fit right back up underneath there like that. Now I'll probably likely have to do something with these gaps under here. That's just the way DSE made them. I don't know. Some people say you need to have areas for water to get in and run out, like, and have a place for it to escape, or otherwise it'll sit in there. And then others are like, no, seal it up. So it's one of those deals. It's like, all right, but I know that the frames from the factory have holes that they put in the very bottom of their whatever box area, so that air can get in there and dry everything up. But anyway, yeah, so there you go, there's that. And I'll go ahead and cut that here, transfer it over and cut it. Sorry, I just ate breakfast and got some acid reflux or something. Anyway, but yeah, so let me explain this. So for a lot of you guys don't really understand why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. It's because I'm making a full frame. And let me show you the other side. And I think I've explained this several times, but so when you come in here, this sits in here like that and makes that full frame. This will be welded here. It'll be welded down here. I'll bevel these back real good, be welded on this side, and then it'll also be welded to this piece right here. So basically, what I'd like to have happen, which I don't know if it'll happen, you know, you see I've already got these holes where I have holes aligned where I can put the pins. If I get my finger out of the way. That's the problem with walking around with your camera, I guess. Anyway, I've got pins in here that'll hold it. Basically put nuts on the back side, suck that down tight, and then this piece basically fits in there like that. Okay, then I can weld all this shut. I can weld down. Now, once that's welded on the inside to the actual box, I can come back in, close this up, just use some, you know, small beads to run and close this out. And then go ahead and fully weld this, fully weld this, fully weld across this side. Now I've got one solid frame. Now what I want to be able to do is once I pull this lower bar away, I'd like to be able to pull these out. And because the way I've cut this, I'm hoping that I can just slide that straight through. Now I don't know that I'll be able to do that for a fact. I guess I could look at it real quick. It's gonna be hard to do with one hand. Let me go grab my stand again. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Hopefully I don't turn the camera off. This happens a lot for some reason. I hit the wrong button or something and it turns things off. So what I'm hoping for, and why I'm not real sure, but the way I've set this up, this will go in here like that. Okay, so that's going to weld to the frame itself. Okay, and then I'm hoping that I can pull that out like that, and this will just be on there like that. That way I can do whatever I need to do and slide these back on. I'll have to take these off to make sure that happens though. That's the problem. So I don't know if I want to go ahead and weld. So what I would do is weld this in and then take this and slide it back over and then tighten everything down, put it back where it's supposed to be. I've got pins on the top here where they locate, where this locates to the floor pans. I've already had it on and off. I know it's going to work. I know it's going to fit. I did that when I drilled these pins out here to hold this up against the frame itself. So yeah, pretty sure I'll be able to pull that straight through and off. And again, I've got this pin where it'll be, and then I can take these off and go put them up, because they won't be put on for quite a while. But I needed to do this, if you guys understand that. I needed to do this and weld all this in here before the floor goes on and all that, because this has all got to be welded, right? So, and I cut this back just in case I couldn't, and that had to be fit there, and I had to weld here. But I will also weld this plate back and it'll stay. Plus, I've got these plates, which go basically like something like that, basically go there. So that'll be another thing that'll actually tie in to all of this from the top of the floor, and it will go all the way through. I'll have plug welds all the way through, and so yeah, it should be pretty strong. So it's about as good as I think I'm going to be able to get with what I have here. It's probably like I was trying to say the other day, Roadster Shop makes a full frame. That frame with all the goodies on it is really close to $20,000. I don't know how far off I am from this setup here. I know that's a lot beefier, but it's also probably a lot heavier. So we'll just see. Now this is just the bottom. I'm also putting a cage in it. Someone asked me if I was putting a full cage in it. Yes, I am putting a cage in it. I think to race on the track that I'm looking at racing, I have to have a 6-point cage, but likely I'll go a little farther than that, possibly. The main thing that I wanted really, really badly, because this is mini tub, I'm gonna have a back seat. Well, you guys know I have a handicapped little girl, and she absolutely loves this Blazer. She loves my hot rod. When I had this back in the day, she'd ride in the back seat and just get the biggest smile on her face when I'd stomp on it. And so I want her to be able to ride in here. Well, the problem is when you put in a cage, from what I've understood, like DSE makes a cage that has a pin, that pins that come out. Well, that's not legal. You can't run that on a regulation track. It has to be welded solid. Well, now I'm trying to take a 100-pound little girl and try to stuff her underneath the bar and through, and it just sounds like a pain in the butt. They have cages that come down and go along the seat. I like that idea better than having a bar. They have a bar that, you know, they pull the pin out and it comes out. That's fine, but I kind of like the way the bar comes down, whether that's regulation or not. It'd be nice not to have to, every time I get in my car, because this is, for another thing, this is not just going to be a race car. This is going to be like a daily driver. I'm going to drive this like all the time. That was the problem I had when I had the car before with this big block in it. It was a gas hog. I couldn't drive it on the highway at 373 gears on, with a 4-speed. I get on the highway and at 65 RP or 65 miles an hour, it's just screaming, like tacking 3,200 RPMs, and the motor's just, rah! And I'm like, and cars are flying past me like I'm sitting still. So it was really no fun to drive. It had no power steering, didn't have power brakes, had 4-wheel drum brakes. Just not a fun car to drive. Now, to get it out on the back street and nail it, a quarter-mile type deal, fun, hard to stop, but fun. Yeah, 0 to 100, great. Then you got to shut it down because you're hitting your 5,500 RPMs. But I think I ran through the quarter at 107 or something like that. So it was like a mid 13 second car with this big block in it. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing, how I'm doing, what I'm doing, why I'm doing, because I've had lots of, like I said, lots of questions about, is this just going to be a race car? No, I want this to be a daily driver. I want it to be comfortable. I'm going to put air conditioning in it. It's going to have all the comforts that a modern car would have. It's going to have the LS motor in it. I've already got the rear end and everything set, 4-link. I'll probably go with the T6060 6-speed transmission. And I haven't figured out if I want to go with the 5.3 with the turbo, or if I'm not a mechanic, so rebuilding a 5.3, I mean, I could do it. It's just like, okay, do I just want something I can drop in and go, or do I really want to? Because if you buy a junkyard motor, I've been looking all this stuff up, you're likely going to have to go through it. You're likely, if you're going to run boost, you're going to have to open up the piston rings a little bit so that they don't heat up so much that they end up breaking a ring and stuff like that. So you have to have like 23 or 24 thousandths of a gap. So there's a lot more than just buying the engine and just dropping it in and slapping a turbo on it. Guys do it. I see that they do it. And one guy said, which makes sense. He said if you get a junkyard motor that has close to 200,000 miles on it, that ring gap's probably already really close to what you need it for boost, so you could literally slap a cheap turbo on it. What I want to do is get the car running. I'd love to do that. Just have minimal money in it, have my 5.3 set up, maybe ugly truck motor or whatever with a cheap eBay turbo on it or something, and get all my lines and everything run. And then once I know everything works, is where it's supposed to be, it's all mocked up correctly and all that, then start making it pretty and say, okay, I want this manifold for, or I want these valve covers, or I want whatever. But for now, I'd like to get it running. And we're so close. I mean, we're this, I could almost drive it now. I could set, you know, something there. You know, I mean, Flintstones did it, right? So anyway, that's where I'm at with this. Thought I'd show you guys what I'm doing here. And I'm gonna get back to work and cut that apart and get it mocked up, and I'll bring you back when I'm done with it. All right, so this is how this one turned out. Sorry, I got a fan on behind me, so if it's loud, that's probably what it is. It actually turned out really good. That template just made it really, really nice. And of course, I'll have to cut these back and angle them so you have good penetration on your welds and stuff like that. But I still have to put the torque box on and get this bottom fitted and fine-tuned to fit it just right. So yeah, and I'll cut this back same. That way I have good area for penetration. The only thing that I'm thinking about right now, actually, I was looking at it, the way DSC did these subframe connectors, I don't know if you'll be able to tell on the phone here or on the camera, but this one under here runs straight across. This one here cuts back because they wanted it to pull into this frame, basically. And so this is going straight up in line with this, okay? So if I were to actually cut this from here up to this line here and continue that weld line down, it would put me in line with this piece here. But that means I would have to cut this brace, and then I'd have to weld that brace, which anytime you know, I mean, that piece right there is stronger than if I cut it and weld it, is what I'm getting at. So the only problem is I'm gonna have a little bit, this will be covered by the torque box, but I'll have a little bit of a gap in here, so I may have to do some creative welding up to that bottom plate somehow. But that's kind of something I'm running into. Like I said, I don't know that I want to narrow it down that way, because cutting it and welding it, I think would weaken what I have there. So this side here is going to go into the box area pretty good. But like I said, this one comes up and it wants to meet this flange. This will be welded solid across here, and then the rest of this will be welded solid, and then the bottom will be welded to the floor pan and the rest of it, and then this will be welded solid all the way across underneath here, and that'll be welded all the way up through there. So it'll be, I think, a whole lot better than just welding it to the straight to the torque box. Well, actually, that's not where they wanted you to weld. They wanted you to weld it straight to the floor pan, if I remember right. I could be wrong. Don't hold me to that one. But as you guys know, I've cut away all this here. So once all that's done and that piece is welded in, I could set this floor right down on top of that, and that piece, here, let's show you what I'm talking about. It's easier for me to visualize things sometimes than for somebody just to tell me. So basically, what that would look like is that right there. Okay, and that'll come down and meet that bar. Actually, it'll probably be out here about like that. Okay, but that'll be tied into the frame. And then I can go ahead and fill these gaps back in. Again, I basically just pull the whole floor off. and keep this piece and the torque box together. Separate the torque boxes here, do all my stuff, prep the underside of that, you know, weld through primer, get all my plug wells ready and all that. So yeah, lots of R&D in just this. I mean, at least for me. Even though the sign says I'm a rocket scientist, you know, still have to think things through. Even rocket scientists have to think things through. So anyway, that may be it. I'm going to go ahead and continue to work on this, but I end up making this video so long it'll be ridiculous. So yeah, it's starting to look pretty good. Got those set up, and again, hopefully my idea works out to where those will slide out. If not, then I'll just have to go ahead and weld them down to the frame right now, and then drop my whole floor on top of that, and then weld the floor to those. I hope that makes sense. All right, well, you guys have a good one. Take care.